their strategic resources, and uh, they want to actually get into a proper cohesive group, or making the inefficiencies away, and that's why they do restructuring. That is my point. Actually, they want to make it more strategically fit to each other, to gain advantage of the market, placing the company as a whole, in terms of industry perspective, in terms of resource utilization, in terms of institutional needs, and transitions taking place in institutions. Uh, they may complement to each other. That's why they do restructuring.
Right. Anybody else, Sandeep?
Yes, correct. Prashanta rightly said all the parameters. It is a restructuring is the get the optimum use or optimal use or maximize our profit or group as a whole, the value increase. For that, we need to restructure the way then we can use the most of our capital enhancement, labor, goods and services which use in the institutional support. So all that is required to get more benefit of the of what the company or the group doing. So for that, whatever we need to do, that is a restructuring to implement the strategy in the right direction.
Okay, anybody else? Restructuring is basically a change in the mix of equity and debt. And in the process, it also takes into consideration whether to, acquire new assets or to rather divest from the existing industry, right? Basically, this is what is restructuring. In that, there are various modes. It may be a sellout, or they may go for mergers, acquisitions, or they may increase the debt. They may convert the existing debt into equity, so on and so forth. These are all restructuring. Generally, a company generally does it, right? So when it comes to what is a conglomerate? Now we understood restructuring, and restructuring with respect to the liability part or the ownership part is said into like we discussed, right? It can also include the way we go into different kind of businesses, whether to go, yeah.
Yeah, restructuring, what you mentioned, is basically financial restructuring.
Capital
Yes.
Yeah, in strategic parallels, means once we are talking about strategy, then we are mostly concerned about the strategies perspective. You can talk about the allocation of assets among the constituent bodies, or
Yeah.
if it is single unit entity, how you can make it more profitable.
That's what I'm about to come to that part also. Restructuring also consists of change in, whatever it can be, infusion of more capital or technology, or change in the way it is being, structured, especially human resource structure, or major changes within the companies. So anything can be part of restructuring, but usually here in this particular context, it is related to the decision related to capital restructuring, right? So this is one. And also see, in emerging markets, because of lack of information due to institutional voids, so it becomes very difficult for the companies which are conglomerates to sell their own valuable assets in the form of companies, or a specific asset that gives them a decent amount of returns, So this is the context. Now, what is a conglomerate?
Conglomerates is kind of a one group or one company having different sector presence in a different sector, which are completely different in the nature. and still we're part of the one company and one group. So that called conglomerate.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Not
Kalpeni.
necessarily different industry, but it could be a horizontal or a vertical integrated organization.
That is a diversification, but a conglomerate is a completely different
Hello,
sector.
Yeah,
Uh,
Deepak.
guys, am I audible?
that correct.
Mm-hmm.
But when you
Yes.
say that if I am producing raw material, which I need to sell in Europe, for example, and then there is somebody who's using my raw material, producing the product and selling in Europe, I'm still getting my Europe sales.
Yes.
So from that perspective, it's a conglomerate who's giving me presence in Europe.
So you are that is the multi geographical presence, right? Yeah, that is the point. And I am talking about the multi sector of
No, no.
different kind of completely different
Uniformly.
sector.
It can take three forms. First form is, as you said, geographies. Second is vertical or horizontal integration. Or the third is, vertical. One is vertical and the other is horizontal. So these are the three areas. Conglomerate means having many businesses. It may be, generally it is said to be diversified ones, with a presence, a lot of presence in several markets, or several products, or several geographies, right? So this is in nutshell about conglomerate. What is an emerging market?
No, so sorry, second thought there. Normally
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
English parlance, when we say a word conglomerate, it is a kind of partnership that helps you to get your target achieved, right? Uh, if you are talking about business parlance, conglomerate can also mean uh, Tatas or Aditya Birlas, for example, which are having multiple
mhm,
industries. But
right.
in a normal strategic parlance, which I've normally seen people using, conglomerate to be somebody who's helping you in doing your business effectively.
Right. See, general, in parlance, the dictionary meaning is a thing consisting of different and distinct parts or items that are grouped together, right? So that can be extended to business as well. In business, what is it called? A conglomerate is a multi-industry company, a combination of multiple business entities operating in different industries under one corporate group, usually involving a parent company, many subsidiaries. And conglomerates are often large and multinational, right? Any
Mhm.
big diversified group is a conglomerate. Okay. Now,
So
what is yeah,
diversified is an important word, I think, here.
yes,
Rather than if we say a location or anything, it should be diversified to call itself as a conglomerate.
Yeah, it's diversified in terms of product, in terms of location, both.
marketplace, and also the industries it is into.
So I think Tata Group is best example, no, in India.
Yeah, Tata is one, Adani is one, another,
Reliance
and
is
Reliance is another,
Reliance.
ITC,
right?
ITC.
ITC is one more. Aditya
One
Birla is
of the
one more.
biggest.
Yeah, so they are all
Hindustan
common.
Unilever.
Yeah, Unilever is into one specific area,
It
that
is in
is
only FMCG. It is only
FMCG,
FMCG.
FMCG.
FMCG. It's only
Yeah, they
FMCG.
cannot can conglomerate.
Yeah.
They diversified.
Chalo,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, what is emerging market?
So it's the market where it is in the growth phase, and there is a lot of potential to tap. That is in general terms, and then
Right. Any other definitions? Ravindra, Ravindra Dutt Tiwari.
But how we will say the market is in growth phase?
So actually, any market that poses an opportunity to grow your business is an emerging market.
Exactly. Where there is a more opportunity or potential opportunity
Market
to
and
grow more.
untapped markets,
Yeah.
like, untapped markets. Like,
Then there is
Untapped
still
market
a
or
growth.
potential to grow.
Potential to
Potential to
grow is
grow.
higher. Yeah.
correct.
Unutilized capacity or
Not capacity, opportunity. I think opportunity first.
Opportunities.
Capacity can be
Untapped
there.
opportunities. Untapped opportunities.
Yeah, like
untapped opportunity.
Market which are not reached to the saturation point.
correct.
Yes.
Like it's not like, in other words, I think yeah, excluding the developed economies generally.
Right. So, Falguni, you would like to say?
So for that, whether we need to like go with the definition or the grouping which was provided by Professor
Falguni, your voice is not clear.
also.
Yeah, it's
I
very
think you have
far.
some.
Voice
Falguni.
coming from
Yeah.
very far.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ravi.
Yeah.
So like I
Ravi.
was saying, yeah. So I was saying whether like in our second lecture, the professor which like showed us the economics, whether we had to go the definition as per that because there will be some developing market, some developed market. So whether we should go as per that.
No, it's not about developed or developing. It all depends on, see, which business, what is the cycle in which you are into. That product can be, or even that particular market. See, if it is in a growing phase, it is emerging market. It can be emerging markets, even within the developed countries also there can be. Like, for example, artificial intelligence is one emerging market, right? Or genomics.
Yeah.
Genomics, though it is abandoned, but yeah.
Wherever we talk about AI, ML, Internet
Hmm.
of Things, all of these
Yes,
are emerging markets.
emerging markets.
And they are emerging since
So,
last 5, 6 years now.
absolutely. So here, what does he mean by emerging markets? Having said, we have defined emerging markets, but in this particular specific context, it is very limited and restricted. What is that? And how it is different from developed markets?
Transaction cost.
Yeah, transaction cost is one aspect, but why there is higher transaction costs?
Because of institutional voids.
Absolutely, but what are those voids, and why those voids are formed?
The formal structure, informal voids, formal voids, and regulatory issues, political issues, uh, currency risk, and
Yeah, there are two major factors for this particular voids to exist. Number one is there is you can say asymmetry of information, right? Asymmetry of information between various participants in the market. What is a market space? It is a place where there are three things, buyer, seller, and product or service, which is to be transacted. So if in that particular market, if there is a information asymmetry, the buyer doesn't know, or the doesn't know the exact information related to something which is being sold, then there is an asymmetry, right? And then the second aspect is there is a conflict of interest between buyers and sellers. Usually, what developed countries do is they try to minimize it, minimize through certain infrastructure or intermediaries. That can take two forms. One is the physical infrastructure, which can be roads, ports, banking sector, telecommunications. All these things come under physical infrastructure. The soft infrastructure, or that is the hard infrastructure. Now, the soft infrastructure is related to financial intermediaries. Who are those financial intermediaries? There are three things, right? One is related to the finances or the capital markets. The second is related to your labor, and the third is the product market, right? These are the three. So there are voids because the information is not flowing freely. What developed countries did is, yes, they have formed certain intermediaries like auditors, consulting firms, all those people, and investment bankers. They are the ones who give all the information because they go through what is called as the accounts of a particular company or the details of entire business which is being engaged by that company. So they have access to it, they certify, they give certain value. That information which is available within the the market, that will ensure there are some interest among the buyers. So this is
Actually,
how
it is
they
called
ensure.
regulatory. It is a regulatory control to reduce the transaction cost.
That is regulatory. This is other part. Regulatory control comes at the later stage. Regulatory control is basically by something like the like in case of India it is SEBI. In case of US it is SEC. They impose certain regulations on these companies or the
Agree,
players
Sureshji.
how to
But that
exactly engage.
auditor, the bankers, all are performing that all regulation are properly installed or regularized in the company, and they are monitoring that. That's why the transaction cost coming down,
They are
slowly,
not
slowly coming down.
regulators.
So it
They
is
are not
it is
exactly regulators. They are basically compliance.
implementer
They do the
Agree.
compliance, and the regulators are the basically the bodies which is
who are framing those
set up,
regulations.
especially
Agree.
set
So
up by the government.
in the cage model, it is A and E.
Mm.
That is what Suresh is talking about.
Yeah, this is leading to, because in the developing markets or the emerging markets, these regulatory these free flow of information is lacking. So then comes the issue related to the restructuring. Whenever there is any suggestion related to restructuring, say if a company or a group of companies, a conglomerate, one company is failing, so what do people say in the efficient markets? You sell off, and then the proceeds of the sell off is put into something which may give them decent returns. So this is what generally is being suggested. Actually, see what happened is whenever there is a crisis in the world, these institutions, especially like World Bank or IMF, all these institutions, the so-called Bretton Woods institutions, or the consultants, like Big Four and all those people, whenever they suggest to a particular government or a company, they used to suggest just think that all things are similarly placed in even the emerging markets. They don't have institutional voids, so they tend to suggest that you just go for a restructuring whereby you sell off all those loss making entities and enter into a different market. But many a times these kind of suggestions which are given by these consultants and international bodies fail to evoke either. See, it becomes very difficult. First thing, okay, you told to sell it off, but who is there to buy that issue? Like Vijay Malia's property is being confiscated, and people are trying to sell off. There are no purchasers. Why? You understood? So this is where these institutional voids have come into existence. It is very easier said than done. And many a times, whatever the prescription they have given, it became very difficult for the governments to implement. So this led to a second line of thought, like whether this whatever is relevant in the Western world or the developed countries or developed markets is the same applicable in case of emerging markets. This is what is a question mark, and for which this this Palepu, Krishna Palepu, and then your Tarun Khanna, these two guys did a lot of research in many of the developing markets or the emerging markets. So ultimately, he understood, no, it is not exactly possible to replicate the Western model or the developed countries models yeah, of restructuring of any of conglomerate or any businesses. So they came out with a certain understanding why it is not possible and what should be done in case of such situations. Like, see, this has been thoroughly debated, especially after Latin American and Asian crisis of 90s. When they came, the same suggestions were given, but they could not be implemented. So they came up with the explanation why it is not possible. As Prashanta said, yes, It is because of the institutional voids, as we have discussed, why there is an institutional void. And it is because of, the two major factors that increases the transaction cost. Number one is in information asymmetry, and then the second is conflict of interest between buyers and sellers. These things, in order to make it on par or more, reduce it. So that is what the entire of discussion about. So what should a company, what are the international experiences? He gave certain case studies related to India, Korea, Chile, and some other developing countries. So especially, you see, he found that the countries after independence, post independence, many of these countries which were erstwhile colonies, they had left out with almost insufficient infrastructure, be it physical infrastructure or the so-called hard infrastructure or the soft infrastructure. Soft isn't developed because actually that exact amount of the so-called yeah, soft thing is, it takes a lot of time, because one is the people should have fair understanding about how the entire businesses operate. That in these countries they weren't. That was thoroughly exploited because of imperialism and colonialism. So they understood the market dynamics much ahead of the others. So that led to due to historical reasons, these could not be, somehow they could not ensure this market infrastructure. So finally, when they came up, like they had a different kind of experiences throughout the world. Like in case of Korea, there were chaebols like Samsung or LG or Davo. These companies, when a government wanted to make certain changes in the markets, these people have resisted like anything. They felt that government is too much indulging into their affairs. So finally, that is one extreme. The other extreme is like in case of Chile. Chile is a country which has successfully implemented or initiated these kind of market reforms. Especially, see, in 1970s, there is a telephone company called a CTC. What they did is they have issued a certain ADRs, American Depository Receipts, whereby once you issue a American depository receipts, you are exposed to scrutiny by the various financial intermediaries, be it merchant banker, be it the so-called consulting firms, or even the auditing firms. So once they are exposed to it, these people are slowly subjected to scrutiny by a large group of investors, especially Western investors. And Chile had been one of the country which has left out to popularly known as Chicago boys. Those guys, they are all educated from University of Chicago. So these guys have take it forward, made it even more market friendly, whereby reducing the transaction cost and make it more palatable for investors to come and invest into their country. So that way, it took around 25 countries, 25 years for Chile to emerge as leading, you can say, in market reforms, especially related to financial infrastructure. They build a very excellent financial markets. So, and also later, immediately after CTC releasing it, then they made one more thing. Like there is one company which is a pension fund, AFP. They also started investing into those companies which have entered into the so-called ADRs, or whosoever issued ADR or attracted some foreign investment, with the belief that those companies which are already under the scrutiny of financial intermediaries, they would have had they would be properly, the whatever the state of financial affairs are fair and true to the extent possible. So that's how the financial market slowly started developing in Chile. So what about the other countries? Like say countries like India. India, we have initially we started with of course we had limited reforms in 80s. Then in 1991 we have opened up more our economy much more. So after opening up of economy, what we did is we have restructured, or rather we have introduced SEBI, right? SEBI had been a watchdog over the financial transactions and capital markets. So that one infrastructure is being created, and that we have totally modeled on SEC of US. So that way we have ensured that there is some infrastructure in place which will look into all these details. And then slowly the banking sector was opened up. We have opened up for the private sector. International banks also come into India, and then we have well established so called market intermediaries, or the merchant bankers. And also we have trained a lot of people from business schools who are exposed to all these market mechanisms, and that is how we have developed it, right? Are we at a very good stage, or are we fully on par, at par with the international markets? That we can only, we many of the our conglomerates, they went and invested into abroad. They have expanded. They have you can say they had acquired a lot of companies abroad. How many of Indian companies are being acquired? Do we have any? I could not recollect, if at all. Sudhir or Kalpendra, somebody can inform whether we have done it. Any of Indian companies being sold to a foreign company? Sudhir, unmute.
Indian, I'm just thinking which.
There are many that I know. So
Yeah. What are they?
there was a company called, and I am from IT sector, so I can talk about them.
Right.
So IIS Infotech was an organization which was formed by the NASCOM president in 90s, Saurabh
Right.
Srivastava, along with
Right.
Dhanbal and Mohit Goel. These were like the NASCOM members who created this company called IIS Infotech that was sold to FI Group UK, Future Information Softwares.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
How big is that deal?
I think at that time it was roughly a billion pounds.
Billion.
Yeah, a billion pounds.
Yeah, it's a big amount. Quite a big amount.
Yeah,
And
and
Flipkart was acquired by Walmart.
yeah.
Right. See, yeah.
On
Yes.
on those similar notes, there was an organization called Red Hat Technologies. It was a data
Right.
analytics organization, right?
Okay.
Taken over by IBM.
Right.
Yeah, the Red Hat story is amazing.
Yeah.
The way they sold the subscription model and made it so easy. It was like a very good story. I don't remember, but it's an interesting short story. How IBM acquired it. They still had to address the customers of Red Hat in the same manner. Yeah, I think then you had Novelis, which acquired some aluminum thing, right, from India. That was another thing.
I think
Hindalco,
Hindalco purchased Novel. Novel is a Canadian company, right?
correct.
Yeah, right.
Hindalco acquired the Canadian company.
Majesco,
Yes.
Yeah,
one entity is
that was
Majesco
reversed.
Mastec. One
Okay.
entity, Majesco Mastec, acquired by some foreign PE fund around
Okay.
Yeah, and
6-7 years back. 6-7 years back. Majesco Mastec is the listed entity in India.
Okay.
yeah, Aditya Birla's in-house KPO called Minax taken over by a company called Concentrix, which
See,
was an outshoot of
if
IBM.
yeah, if you see the examples which are largely quoted, they all are into IT, right? IT companies, majorly their customers are mostly either US or European markets. So these are the companies, they are very much familiar with the company and the information. And most often, I think
No,
they
so
do. Yeah,
even if you talk about colas, right? Thumbs Up taken over
right,
by Coca-Cola.
right.
Thumbs Up was an Indian brand.
Yeah, Thumbs Up was an Indian brand. Yes. So, can we say that we are on par with West in terms of having all the infrastructure, especially the soft? Because China, for example, they had an excellent, Shanghai Stock Exchange with you can say one of the best buildings and best infrastructure. But still, is it having any kind of financial reporting, proper financial reporting by those companies? How many of those Chinese companies are being purchased by other companies? But the reverse is true. They have purchased, Chinese companies have purchased many other country companies. So because of this lack of, you can say faith in the information which is being shared. Like for example, in Korea, they don't have you don't get data related to any revenues or cost or within their own divisions. And many a times these top auditing firms, they don't sign their financial statements because they don't have full trust on it. So unless the information is properly shared, and entire information is totally disclosed, there cannot be a kind of a transaction, right? So in most of the emerging markets, this is one of the major problems. Many a times, what happens is, even if the asset is very good, even if they want to sell it off, there will not be any buyers because they tend to, just like a lemon syndrome. There is a lemon syndrome whereby the quality of good lemons is the price of quality high good quality lemons is dependent on the entire lot, what kind of a lot you have. So there may be few rotten lemons, and the entire in the weightage they lose the value for that particular transaction. Many a times selling off these assets also, or the companies, is very difficult in those countries because there are no buyers. Either the markets are too small, or there are too limited players, and the third is that the foreign players, whosoever are willing, prospective, they are not at all in a position to actually ascertain what is the value of that particular company, because it is hidden, no information is being shared. So this is the major challenge with these people come across. So what exactly why the conglomerate should not sell is a big question. In that, they observed that despite many of these so-called consulting firms suggesting that to the conglomerate to restructure their company or sell off certain divisions or companies, ultimately these group, whatever the companies in business groups or conglomerates, they have delivered even better value by improving their profitability. So hence it was found that whatever the contrary to the suggestion which is given by these entities, ultimately it proved to be the other way, like contrary to what is being suggested. So now they made a study, like they tried to study groups which are affiliated groups, or the so-called conglomerate groups, and non-affiliated. Ultimately, they found that the groups which are in affiliated groups or conglomerates, they derive more value because they basically try to replicate or reduce the institutional voids, because they in themselves, what they do first, they use the funds derived from one of their crown jewel entity, whatever the profit they make, that they plow it into some other sectors or industries whereby they derive more value and act like a PE, private equity investor. So they fill the gap of a merchant banker, which otherwise is done in the developed countries. So they fulfill that particular role of a merchant banker. Second, what they do is they they also substitute labor markets. In most of the emerging markets, the quality labor is lacking because they either the whatever the educational system is not as efficient and as better or qualitative compared to the developed markets, or else there are not enough companies that can give them the quality training or experience that is required. So most often, what these companies do is they offer when they are a big conglomerate. Naturally, they have so many divisions, so many companies in diversified groups. So they can systematically plan in such a way that most of these people get trained in diversified businesses, and which is a resource for them to deploy at any in future circumstances or group expansion. The same talent can be used. So they what do they do is they increase the efficiencies in the labor market. Otherwise, these countries will not get the enough qualified or qualitative labor. Otherwise, which should have been available. So these people fill that gap, which is left void due to institutional voids. The third thing is that they create a value. Why do they create? Because they have a very strong brands. Like in the Tata case, Tata has completed all three qualities. They have created a very strong brand, and that strong value and brand that give any prospective purchaser or buyer a kind of a comfort and faith and trust in this particular brand. And also they do not compromise on certain things like the quality of the product, customer service, or else, and also they maintain high level of ethics which is respected in the entire of the world. So that is how these particular brands or these conglomerates develop or rather replace the institutional voids, and they try to enhance the value for the entire of the chain of businesses they are into. So what kind of a restructuring has to be done, and whether government has to, yeah, Prashanta.
Yeah, supposing we want to invest, supposing some foreign investor wants to invest in India,
Right.
which sector he will choose, which is most attractive? In today's environment, I don't find any. Number one. Number two,
Right.
there are institutions all over. There are
Right.
informal, formal institutions.
Hmm.
Are they really vibrant? Are they really making the level playing field for foreign investors to come and be comfortable, be confident in investing in India? Why the FDIs are not coming here for so many years? So there are, of course, liberalization we have done.
FDIs are coming. It's not that they are not coming.
No, but
For example, Google has invested into Reliance Jio, right?
if I consider India is a very favorite destination in terms of demographic, in terms of natural resources, in terms of having English speaking people, and
Quality skill, yeah.
our culture is quite amenable to any foreign culture or foreign people.
No, no, even
Why even then?
yeah. In fact, distance still matters. If you say that cage analysis, India is favorably placed
And
for the entire Western world. Yeah.
second thing,
Yeah.
do you think that Tata Group,
Hmm.
with having so much of 100 plus year history, did much in India? Because they are uh, very big group, having so much of power, having so much of presence in so many industries. Were they aggressive enough? Because the five companies they form up to GRD Tatas, and thereafter all emerging markets, emerging industries into
Right.
technology, means IT, communication, and drilling. Of course, drilling is a core sector, means, but that also they did not much explore. So were they really aggressive
So,
as
Prashant,
far
I
as
kind
India
of
is concerned?
not agree with that. Basically, if you see Tata, when it was formed, the purpose and their mission continues to be India focused, right? They always wanted to grow the economy of India. So that was the focus of the organization. And when we talk about certain industries where they have tapped the world well, TCS, for example, Tata Telecommunications, for example, right?
Jaguar, Chorus Steel.
Yeah. So they
Yeah.
have gone beyond India, but I understand from a core industry perspective, they would have retained their production in India, but they still export, right? So uh, I think that comment probably is debatable.
Nee, first of all, what is the need for Tatas to attract foreign investment? First question.
No need
Do
because
they?
that's the richest trust.
Yeah,
They may not
naturally.
have to. They may not have to attract foreign, but they themselves they can invest in India. You
Nee,
see,
they are investing. They are investing.
not
Not that they are
not
not
to the
investing.
extent of other people, those who are capturing the
See,
market. Tata being
no.
present for so many years with so much of good track record, and they did not do much within India. They
No, no,
rather
no.
kept away from India. That is my feeling.
See,
That is not correct to say to so to speak.
Lot
Still,
of core industries
Tata
are
Group.
because of Tata's in
Yes,
India.
Tata still is the largest conglomerate in India,
Yeah,
despite
and they have
many.
created industry, right?
Yes,
And it's
yes,
not just that, for example,
yes,
even to run an airline and
yeah.
acquire an airline, other than the fact it is a pride, I mean, that's the main factor, right? Otherwise, to run an airline, get another airline with,
You are not getting my point. You see,
Yeah.
Tata Steel is one of the oldest company. They have all the things. They have vertical integration. They have
correct.
enormous power. But
Right.
Telco, for their locomotives, they still import specific type of steel items. And India as a country, we import lot many steels, variety of steels we import.
No,
But
Correct.
absolutely, you are right. Alloy, all kind of the automobile steel.
yes,
We
why
we
Tata
import
did
it.
not
Yes,
venture into this to fulfill their own requirement plus the
maybe.
global requirement?
So, Prashant, it
No,
also
they wanted to
depends
focus
on
on construction
Prashantaji.
steel,
Also, when you open
construction steel. I think their focus was on the automotive steel, where there's a lot of companies producing it. The construction steel is
No.
where they wanted to be, and they've chosen to be there, right? I think if you see every segment, they've chosen to be some things they don't operate, some things they've picked. Again, for automotive, you've already tried and tested. See, when a telco came with a car, for example, we didn't why will a truck company, why will you buy a car from a truck company was the thing. They have changed it over the last 25 years. So they don't want to like go into the end-to-end vertical integration of all the products which go into a particular product, right? That I think many of the big houses have tried to do that. So I think, for example, plastic Reliance was importing a specific set of plastic, whereas they were making almost everything, right? So I think it's just a demand and supply, and whether you want to get into it and what is the level. See, again, for the other car companies to import from India, till up until 5 to 10 years ago, they had a stigma. So if they had this, then till India went and acquired the foreign car companies, nobody even thought of India as a car company. So if we are making steel for the cars, they wouldn't have bought it. So I think I would give them that benefit of doubt and say, hence they have not
Also, when we
ventured.
talk about steel industry, right, a lot of core material that is required to produce different type of steel is not always available in India, right? When we talk about high speed steel, which is used for manufacturing aircrafts, we don't have that kind of material in India. There are only specific companies
Further,
which can create that.
it is simply a decision either to make or to buy. See, if it matters, if it is cheaper to buy, rather they will buy. Because see, we need to understand who are investing in automobile sector. Except Tata's, if you see all other car brands, they're all either Japanese, Korean, or some other country. So they all have their own source plants in their own country, where it will be much cheaper. Whether Tata can be assured of a assured quantity whereby they can produce at a cheaper rate. This is what is the biggest question mark. So that is still a void.
Of course, comparative
Definitely.
advantage always takes place. Comparative
Yeah,
advantage always takes
we,
place.
we have to apply
And
Ricardo's law, right?
and that
So
comparative advantage over a period of time, it changes from place to place.
absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah,
So
that is true.
absolutely, absolutely. But for that, there should be enough demand. If there is not much of demand and too much of competition is there, it will be like a like a red ocean instead of blue ocean, right? So I think I don't think Tata is wrong in that. That's my personal opinion. Maybe it may vary from person to person.
I'm not saying it
Yeah,
wrong or correct. I'm
yeah.
saying just my feeling is that they are not that aggressive. They were supposed to be more aggressive because these
They
Anand
they they are they are they are they
When
think
you are such
they
a
have a
bigger
see.
conglomerate, they become lethargic. They have the processes, policies, aptitude of a government employees, right?
exactly.
Government
Now you
employee.
have picked up my word.
Ha.
Yeah.
He
So
That,
again,
that I
see,
kind of
works from
agree
there
with you.
home.
is some
Compulsory.
See,
thinking think tank, some people who do, and some people who just go along with the status.
Correct.
So even, for example, TCS is there. Some of the things TCS does is also phenomenal, maybe at a snail pace, like reforming the passport office and those things. So their thing is to do and not really become the apples of the world. So they have never tried to do that, right? They've always
nahi.
established player. They've come with, like they tried Nano. I mean, how did the industry reward Nano? They tried to make a car with for under a lakh. The industry just wouldn't let it happen, right? So in their own spaces, they have tried something. Now they're trying with an airline and the airline industry to kind of navigate it. Is that not considered aggressive? I think yes. Again, what are we trying to compare it? Will Tata come with an Apple? No. We know that. It will not happen. Will they come with a new product, invent something? I don't think that will happen. So again,
Even yeah, it depends on the risk and return, right? Risk and
yeah.
rewards. They can take a risk provided the rewards are high. If the reward is totally under question, definitely they may not. And for them it is like a huge organization. It has its own inertia, right?
Correct. And
So
they tried to disrupt the supply chain by acquiring that chorus, right? It was not a great
great game
acquisition.
changer, right?
Yeah, but it disrupted the supply chain. So would you call that aggressive? I would call that aggressive. Again, what is aggressive is really a relative term to the Indian market.
See, even Jaguar Land Rover is not said to be a very big success, right? So whenever they went aggressive, it didn't fetch them. So it's always be better to be abundantly cautious than be recklessly aggressive. This is what I feel.
I just wonder
So
whether
the
health sector is
the
one.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting debate. Naturally,
Health sector
yeah.
is
the
one.
acquisition of Chorus and this JLR were like single-handedly driven by Ratan Tata during his tenure. So even though those were not looking very attractive in terms of in other terms, but but those were required maybe otherwise if some other competitors would have taken that and they would have scaled up, so then it might have been a difficult task for us, for Tata Group or maybe Tata Steel.
So they neutralize the threat, right?
Yeah, so
Yes.
during that time it is said.
Yeah. In fact, actually, see, once the economy was opened up, I think they went a little dizzy, and also they experimented a lot. They became very aggressive in certain acquisitions. It's
So
okay. Like there is a mixed bag of you can say results, but still, Tata could sail through that entire difficult process of the
So
so-called
earlier, the company in which I'm
liberalization.
working, yeah. So the company
Yeah.
in which I'm working was usually used to handle all the imports and export for the whole Tata Group during the license Raj and all. But once it is like delicensed or the economy was opened up, so then we were like left open or left to leave it our own this thing. But yeah, then also we have grown up good in terms of trading organization rather than operating as a some arm to the group.
So actually, see,
Evaluation,
yeah,
post
what he
evaluation,
suggested. Well, right, right. Okay, carry
post evaluation transition, uh, making a balance between the domestic companies and the foreign companies to come and grab market in India was, it was very well thought plan, in the sense that the tariff barrier, trade barrier, all kinds of things were there, but they were gradually removed, so as to give protection to some extent to core companies within India, domestic companies within India, so that the job market is maintained. The immediately there is no threat that once when supposing someone comes from outside and grab the market, and there will be no control over the demand and supply position. So the transition was smooth, but it should have taken another round of maybe the push to the entire liberalization processes, so that you can put India into a global map of developed countries. Still, we are emerging economies.
We have a very long way to go. Even China is not a developed country.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a very
And
long way to go.
they have a lot of issues actually. China is altogether different. As rather, we are in a better position, though their GDP is much more than us, but we are in a better position to actually align ourselves with the developed countries. But it did not happen. It is not happening, or it did not happen.
Even
Somehow, actually, we have neglected our education and health and infrastructure, hard infrastructure. Of course, it's coming, but still, health and education is still.
even the soft infrastructure is also not in the accessibility of all. If you have a brilliant idea, you go and pitch in. How many people would rather interested to invest? I don't think still we are in that stage.
You see, whatever you say, the license Raj is not there. There is no
No,
problem.
license Raj,
But
you
once
forget
when you
about
set up
license
a
Raj.
company, I'm just giving a small example.
See,
I set up my own company.
there
I'm
are,
just giving a small example.
yeah.
Just a second. I have set up my own company, and it has come under MCA. And the moment it has come, I started getting calls from employees provident fund, employees in state insurance. I told Baba, it is I have just formed that company on so and so date, and it is within bracket. You will see that it is 1% company, 1% OPC company. So it is a long way to go. And so why you have started asking me? No, no, no. You will have to comply with these formalities. You have to comply. So so much of things will come into play, and then you will not be able to concentrate in what you really wanted to concentrate. And to comply all those requirements, it takes hell of a time.
See, that I agree. See, I 100% agree that we are still not business friendly, despite all that. One part, what you are saying is the government part, right? Forget about government part, non-government also. There are so many groups, and then this entire information and the flow of capital, flow of so many things is not still, totally open up. It is strictly under few control of few individuals or few groups. Still we are not open up. We are not open market, right? So this is one. Actually, see what he says is why these things. Countries like Korea, for example, there the chabols, they indulge into certain practices whereby they aggressively keep expanding, forgetting about the profitability part. Same happened even with Japan also. Yeah, if you see, most of the Japanese companies are totally now they are trying to come up because they have forgot one particular thing. Their philosophy was growth now and profitability later. In that process, they attracted huge amount of debts. That debt servicing became a huge burden, and later many big corporations, failed and they flunked. Like what happened in Japan after the so-called, you can say, a cutthroat kind of a competition amongst the companies or the different firms after persistent approach of cost reduction, improving the quality. So they went to such an extent that beyond a particular point, they could not get any profits, and many of the companies went bust. So this that is one of the reason, and what they say is in order to come out of that situation, they have to, those companies should think about profitable growth rather than just pursuing something called as only profitability. So he gives a very interesting insights what companies should do in these emerging markets so that they can attract more foreign investments. That is, business group should invest into internal information and incentive system, and to adopt certain practices which are well appreciated by the West, like activity based accounting, balanced scorecard, this economic value added. These are the things they have to put it in such a way that all the information, whatever best they can put in their own disclosure statements, they have to, so that that will bring in more transparency, and people slowly develop faith in it. And also it becomes easy, not only to sell it to the private parties and also to within the country, and finally it has to also, it has to suit to the requirement, country specific requirements, rather than blindly copying whatever prevalent in the West. So this they have to do it. And then second issue is that, see, there is one more related problem when it comes to job markets. They all go for a particular industry specific packages, whereby people tend to give certain component, the rather the packages in such a way that the entire industry is more or less uniform, and this will not incentivize any of the better talent to get retained. Once a foreign MNC comes into that particular market, they will, with their big fat paychecks, attract these talent, and then ultimately they are stripped of most of the talent within the company, leading to even further downfall of those companies in those countries. So for that, they suggested to keep compensation level so attractive that they can retain the talent. But however, there is one pitfall. Like if they keep on increasing the salary, probably there may be a chance, the possibility that the cost will keep increasing, and they may not be in a position to sustain in the market. So this is one pitfall. Then second thing what they suggested is they should know how exactly to exit from a business. So that's what, when Jardine Group has invested in 20 percentage of stake in Tata, that is an excellent decision they have taken, because that gave them the financial leverage, and that amount they can invest into some newer technologies or newer businesses, which they can tap with their existing resources valuable and rare, so that they can get a better decent returns. And this is what they have advocated. And then third aspect they have said is that they have to, these companies should change their orientation from growth orientation to growth come profit orientation, so that they don't compromise on both. In case if they don't pursue the profitability approach, Sudhir, yeah, Sudhir,
Yeah. Sorry.
some background noise is coming.
Yeah. My phone on my phone.
Okay, okay. Yeah. So ultimately, it lead to there will be a mismatch, and the assets are put to stress. You know, the company will be under stress. Maybe it may lead to bankruptcy as well. So this is and what these companies should do. So they have to also invest into institutional value addition, since there are certain voids. They have to fill in those voids by emerging themselves as a private equity or the venture capitalist, whereby they appropriate certain profit, invest those profits into some of the businesses that will give them better returns. So this is one area which they have to enter into. And then second issue is these companies, they have something called as a huge amount of talented manpower. That manpower should be utilized in a proper way. And many times what these companies indulge is, instead of giving training to most of their managers, they select only few people, and then they send them abroad for further education, whereby what they do is they thinly concentrate on very few people. Instead, what they say or suggest is, since a company like Tata with 3 lakh or 4 lakh employees or even more, so what they can do, they can have their own training centers, whereby they can attract the best in the market, whatever the best faculty or the specialists are available in the market, world market. They can call them, and then whatever training is to be imparted, that can be given within their own premises, whereby they can increase the skill base of the employees within their organization for better utilization. So this is another. Then what another thing which they have suggested is that not to indulge into when when a company, big company, is a conglomerate. The more you intervene in day-to-day activities, naturally the management of that company will be more or less demoralized. If you see, in case of Disney case, in that once they have acquired ABC Corporation, these Disney managers try to impose and bully those guys into to comply to the Disney's value or work culture. So that led to a lot of you can say demotivation, and finally they had to sell off that ABC Corporation at the later stage, because it failed to give value to Disney. So similarly, in fact, in case of JRD Tata, what he did was, like, he encouraged entrepreneurship within those group companies, and he left these companies, on a with full autonomy, so that they thrived on its own. That also became a kind of a you can say hindrance when it comes to when Ratan Tata took over and he wanted to make certain institutional changes or structural reforms. So that could not be made, because the lobby group is so strong. They tried to obstruct whatever he was doing. So they came in a way. And what Ratan Tata did was institutionalization of the corporate culture. That is where this Disney failed to do, because they failed to institutionalize it. It became run by a particular founder and his value. The moment the founder is no more, The founder has, that Walt Disney had certain qualities. He is both a creative person, at the same time an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur with such a good understanding that he always, he had a business acumen whereby he could always convert the adversities into opportunities. So anybody, even Eichner, could not fit into his shoes. So that becomes an issue when it is totally person driven. So that happened even with Tata till Ratan Tata instituted these reforms. And again, they have to have a kind of a common thread running across the company. That was lacking in Disney. When somebody asked, I think Vikas asked, what was the difference? Why Disney failed and why Tata could succeed? It is the common thread that ran across the company was missing in Disney. There is no connecting, cord. And whereas in case of Tata Group, because of that, brand in which he tried to bring in, and then the holding company controlling the activities, or rather, instead of daily activities, they had imposed certain vision, mission, and values. That those things are being monitored and identified, and wherever possible, they used to make certain changes that are actually needed to make it much better. So these things that ensured a Tata Group to survive. Otherwise, maybe it would have been very, very difficult had this Ratan Tata not instituted those changes. So that is one thing. And then the TAS, Tata Administrative Service, is, you can say, a game changer between both the so-called Tata Group and Disney Group. This the stream of, the managers who are trained by TAS, they are basically a common cord connecting all the companies, because they have the values, ethics, and the right kind of, skill set, so that they can run or take on any kind of business with ease, and also without compromising on the core philosophy of Tata. And then what basically government should do? This is one more big question mark. And then see, what should government do? Government should ideally, ensure that whatever the institutional voids are there, they are being uh, reduced to the maximum possible extent, where by increasing, in fact, in case of India, we after post 91, we have instituted so many institutional reforms, so be it setting up of SEBI, and that SEBI is basically a watchdog over the, activities of these corporations. Then we have even improved, banking sector, whereby that is thrown open for providing institutional loans, especially to larger corporates. Of course, that gone bust after the so-called NPA crisis, which we have. I think we had a very good session on that also. And due to that, again, there is, as in the past, as was discussed, like there are certain reasons why those NPAs have come into existence. One, in any case, because of global crisis that accentuated the volatility, especially in the commodities market, and all those companies which have invested into those commodities, be it steel industry or cement industry, all those companies, they gone bust. That is one. The second reason is that there is a lot of that so-called forbearance, that institutional or regulatory forbearance, whereby they have allowed these companies to instead of making more complaint, they left it a little free, so that they can thrive. Otherwise, any sort of regulation would have led to even further cascading effect, whereby it would have very deleterious effect on the economy. And then the third aspect is related to, in any case, within there is some lapses on the part of that banking sector itself. There are certain, administrative lapses. And then many a times, even the governments control the decisions related to banking, like in priority sector lending, instead of, focusing on giving it to the so-called corporate sector, instead of focus on to capital formation, they put it to certain areas which may not be generating assets to further strengthen or improve the growth potential of our country. So these are certain of the reasons. And how can government help is basically, see, the government should not become too aggressive. See, what happened with Korea is Korean government tend to try to become too aggressive in case of compliances, and it led to a kind of a stalemate between the private sector and government, and finally, private sector stopped yielding to the government pressure, and there was a kind of uneasy kind of a environment whereby both the parties did not trust each other. So rather, it should be soft in case of as it happened in India. And then the market and second is the labor markets also should become more efficient in terms of, having qualitative education, especially into management, then all the professions which are related to the business. And that is one of the reasons, because we had I can't say world class education system, but yes, we are people who are educated in our Indian schools or colleges, in whether it is be it engineering, medicine, or MBAs, they are all valued throughout the world. And that is one of the reason for many of the CEOs are from Indian background, or who are from Indian schools and institutions. So this is a nutshell about this. Then we can discuss a little bit about Tata. If anybody would like to discuss something what is not discussed in the session. Sandeep, Prashanta Dada.
They covered a lot in that. I mean, I have no other addition.
Acha.
Only thing is that to specific Tata's point of view, only the Ratan Tata and Jerry Tata's ideology is not part of in this session, which is anyway we have, that was covered in the presentation. So otherwise everything is covered.
In fact, they fairly did very well in presentation. Group 7. You guys did very well, covering all the aspects. How that JRD Tata House, and whether that scheme is good. Yes, in fact, the holding company has to take. I think Sandeep, can you mute? There is an echo. Yeah. So, in fact, see, the Tata House is a very excellent case study, which way a corporate house has to go into. I think this is where, when we had an interactive session with Vinny, he was talking about this, Tata case. Tata case is an excellent case study, in fact, how a particular conglomerate has to fill those institutional voids. In fact, we have to understand this particular case is prior to or immediately after opening up of our economy. Once the Indian economy became liberalized, yeah. Okay, Kalpendra bhai. Good night.
Eyes are like closing, so it's fine.
Actually, yeah, it is now 11 o'clock.
Good
Yeah,
night.
it's about to be 11. Good night. Good night. So we can wrap it up in 5 or 10 minutes. Then
Please.
yeah. So what they exactly did is what a company has to do. See, the Indian economy was opening, opening up, and they are the largest group in India and a conglomerate. Yeah, Prashant.
Yeah, supposing if you have to criticize the presentation of Group 7,
Yeah.
what are all your points?
Be time कम पड़ेगा. I will not go there.
Please, let's be open.
No, I don't think we need to do that. But anyway.
We can also do that. Not an
No,
issue.
no.
Academic interest. It is open. This
It's open.
academic is about how he thinks and how we thought as a group. So there may be differences. There is no issue.
Yeah, I'll just open your PPT and then come. I have identified when the
please.
Sandeep, please.
Because you put so many things in your talk, 5 minutes talk, that I could get it. There are certain issues that you are not very comfortable of course, as a group also, we might have missed something. And
that is fine.
We are such a group that someone is from some place, someone is from some other place, someone very difficult to coordinate with each other.
Yeah, wait a minute. Let me open your slide.
Yes, I was agree, and that was the biggest challenge for us. It was a completely different geographical group, Group 7.
Yeah. But despite all that, you people did well. Let me open.
The last slide was very good. Photos of everybody on the call.
Yeah.
That is good now. We came with the dress code, and the professor not allowed to go that up to that slide.
Actually, see, at that time I was identifying what is that, actually, see, in your SWOT analysis, the strength में आप लोगों ने what is exactly like opportunities, you have mentioned that alliances with foreign firms, you have said investment into new ventures, and then managerial talent, management talent you have put in opportunities and also into high skills. These are conflicting, right? Skill, basically opportunity should not have something related to your internal resources. So वो एक mistake था. Then opportunities, access to public markets including debt market. ठीक है, that once the economy was opened, that was what, public markets in the sense capital markets, you mean to say, right? This is one. And then what are the opportunities? It has thrown up a lot of, industries, and then a lot of new technology was infused into it. So that you haven't mentioned. Then strong financial strength. Financial strength, is it a strength? Because it is basically an outcome of your certain strengths, right? What are those core strengths? I think this slide needs a little more refinement. The strength is basically the entrepreneur. One is value and ethics. One is that, and the strength is continuous. You can say emphasis on high quality and customer service is your strength. Then diverse quality of products and services, how can it be a strength? I could not understand whether it could be put into strength part. You are into conglomerate is basically you are into all businesses, right? How you make it? Then your organizational culture. You said that conflict and lack of integration, coordination, weak corporate communication. These are fine.
Then if you have only issues with SWOT analysis.
Yeah. With the not only SWOT analysis, I'm coming one by one, right? A threat is, yes, economic liberalization, market-based economy. Okay, that is a threat. Threat from MNCs. Hostile takeover.
एग्जाम में केस स्टडी नहीं आने वाला है ना?
Falguni, it's not only about exam, right? It's more about learning.
Confirm कर रही हूँ, reconfirm.
Yeah. No. It's not going to come. But the application of these principles are going to come. right? Again, uncertain domestic and political environment. Okay, that is a threat in any case. New government regulations, how they will be a threat? Is government a threat? POTUS का 5 forces अगर act ये करेंगे, government regulations can be blessing in disguise. It may favor you, may not favor you, both ways. So ये नहीं होगा. Lack of market infrastructure for ठीक है, those are all lack of market infrastructure. How can you put it into threat? क्योंकि वो तो it will be affecting every player within the market, right? So ये मुझे लगा. Next is diversification strategy. ठीक है, ये थोड़ा सा. Then your horizontal concentric, ये अच्छा explain किया है diversification categories का. Then your rationale for diversification, ये भी अच्छा ही है. This is good. Then advantages of conglomerate diversification, corporate brand, soft infrastructure, financial synergy, managing talent. ठीक है, all four, that whatever we discussed, that is there, right? And then what changed Tatas, ये भी अच्छा explain किया है. It's well explained. Conclusion आपका जो है, need of corporate brand, ये आप लोगों ने valuable ये resources आपने try किया था. Putting what exactly is the resource is again well recognized. Is a brand a resource? And is only brand a resource? Had a global recognition potential.
Yes, sir. I'm also dropping out. Just
Yeah.
No, done. More or
Okay.
less it's done. Actually, I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Because he spoke
Actually,
about 5 minutes, so I
yes.
thought, let me understand. We also debated among ourselves, and
Yeah, I understand. I understand, of course.
And people are from all around the places,
Of
and
course.
it was very difficult to coordinate with among each
They
other.
actually जो माइक्रोस में क्या है ना, certain detailing में ही थोड़ा सा आप लोगों ने rare brand build or
we talk about that short analysis, whether it will be done 1991 when he took over, or we do 1995. That we talk, because now the short analysis, if you observe, it is a mix. The total period is there.
Yeah,
The short
actually,
analysis
yes.
trying to analyze what are all actually weaknesses or threat, what are opportunities.
Right.
So that it is totally little mixed, but nevertheless, it gives some perspective. Actually, what are all needed, and perhaps Ratan did it. That is what
Ratan did it. Yes, of course. Of course. Putting valuable resources का क्या है ना? What is your core resource? Did you identify? कहाँ से value generate हो रहा है?
We identified, but we have not put into the slide. With the back end, it is there.
Back end में है. नहीं, लेकिन यहाँ पे जो rationalization,
should talk about the resources which were used.
Yeah, what are those resources? What are those valuable resources? Yes, build over 100 plus historical factor जो है, and then what is demonstrated by ethical value? Value is it a resource? Whether it is a rare resource, like no other company has those values. So this is one aspect. आपका historical over 100 years of experience, that is okay. That is, can you say it as a rare kind of a thing? Like nobody can match it.
Sandeep, say something. You are keeping quiet.
Sandeep Babu.
Sandeep Babu.
Yeah, I am listening. See, अभी ऐसा है. The thing is that कि if we want to go in the deep dive or in the detail, there are a lot of things we can explain or we can put in the slide. we have a challenge to minimize everything within 20 minutes, and there are also challenge about to, as Prasanta mentioned, ki for which year we select. That was the biggest
नहीं
starting
नहीं
discussion. After
ये
that,
ये ये
I'm coming
मजाक
after all this. I'm coming after all this point slowly one by one. So that is the first thing we have decided ki for which year we want to select on SWOT analysis and then entire presentation. Then we have very much limited things for the JRD Tata's era. We have so much thing for Ratan Tata era, and we have to think about not only one company of Tata. We have to think about Tata Sons as a group, as a Tata group. Though those things we keep in front, and then start thinking on that point. So value the history. At that point of time, it was rare. We are thinking about in 1995. At that point in time, it was rare. It was a
नहीं
really space. It was
there are many companies which are even more
no
more
successful
older.
company. No successful company.
नहीं, that is what na? So history cannot be rare resource, right?
No, successful history is a rare resource.
आपका सबसे बड़ा रिसोर्स रेयर रिसोर्स क्या है? See, you have 20, 30, 40 companies, right? Or
That is later
100
on.
companies. 100 companies. Conglomerate का क्या है? You have so many companies and so many activities. So उनमें से आपको identify करना पड़ेगा what is the
That
common
time
thread.
was 7 companies, only the superstar companies that time, right? Not everyone. And that time only 23 or something, that much company only. Not
Okay, Sudhir, right? Yeah, we will continue with the discussion, right? Ravi, Ravi, you can also join us. Okay, I'll be on opposite side. आप लोग अभी defend कर लीजिए.
So thing is that I agree your points, few points are valid, but in each point we had a detailed discussion why we have to consider this and why that was not.
That is why, see, what is a valuable resource of Tata? If somebody asked, what is that? There are उसमें से आपको पता है ना resources में tangible
First is brand.
resources,
First is
intangible
the brand.
resources.
You see, problem was
Brand.
problem
Brand is
was
okay.
once when you are doing SWOT analysis, the question was that whether SWOT analysis for Tata Sons, and Tata Sons is for the 5 companies, main companies, and then the other subsidiaries under TIL. So should we talk about the companies or should we generalize it? Because we have to talk about the companies and then identify the strength, weaknesses. Then it will be a very big mess. So
And we don't have data for that. We don't have data for that.
You need not
we
do
had
it.
4B, 4A, it was there. Some data was there, of course, but it was a mess, big mess. So we decided to be, because of the time constraint, because we had to do 20 minutes presentation and all kinds of stuff. So we thought that, okay, let's confine to this and talk about very generalized way. And of course, second, if you would have questioned all this during session, I would have answered. Actually, I was the person identified for answering all the questions. So,
no, it's not about identification and answering. It's more about, हम लोगों का क्या होता है ना, when we discuss, our understanding improves.
Yes. Actually, more we discuss among ourselves in open mind, more we criticize among ourselves,
right,
more clarity will come. And then we can take safeguard and we can use the better words. Actually,
absolutely,
it was very for us, better word, because Sandeep pointed out we have actually repeated 1 or 2 sentences. So somehow they have corrected it. So there are some challenges actually in our group because of the locational problems.
नहीं, there are 3 things, right? आपको resources में से एक तो है what comes under resource. Number 1 is tangible resource, intangible, and then the organizational.
Intangibles and capabilities.
Sandeep, can you just
actually I sent actually complete list that what are all we can do, because tangible resources its use across the conglomerate is very limited. Maybe to some extent certain value chain.
नहीं,
Otherwise,
सबसे
mostly it will be intangibles.
सबसे पहले क्या है ना, आपको यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड, इसमें सबसे बड़ा रेपुटेशन आपका क्या रिसोर्सेस है। सबसे पहले एज पर माय अंडरस्टैंडिंग, ओके, सबसे पहले है brand is one resource, definitely, right? But then how did you build a brand? You build a brand by complying to certain quality, you have pursued a pursuit of high quality and higher customer service. These are your strengths. This is your strength. वो वही है आपका रिसोर्स। सेकेंड थिंग, यू हैव अ वेरी हाईली टैलेंटेड लेबर और टैलेंट पूल आपके पास में है, दैट इज योर कोर स्ट्रेंथ। These talent pool of the employees, they are responsible to take churn whatever उनके अंदर में entrepreneurial spirit है, उनके अंदर में प्रोफेशनल एथिक्स है, उनके अंदर में टेक्निकल कैपेबिलिटीज भी है। बिकॉज ऑफ दैट दिस पर्टिकुलर टाटा कुड बी बिल्ट। दिस इज वन। सेकेंड थिंग, हिस्टोरिकल रीजनिंग की वजह से यू हैव एक्सेस टू सर्टेन ऑफ द रिसोर्सेस। लाइक टाटा स्टील को क्यों, व्हाई टाटा स्टील और टेल्को, ऑल दीज कुड सस्टेन? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, it is your first thing, access to certain resources. You टाटा को जो रिसोर्स, कौन सा रिसोर्स नहीं है उसका हाथ में, बताओ? आयरन और माइंस है, कोल माइंस है। So all these things you have got it historically. Second thing, what was another a big advantage, or you can say a capability or a resource, is the ability to choose the right alliance partner. Okay. Third is your ability to understand the market well and place your strategies well, right? Those are the capabilities, those are your actual resources. नहीं है तो और क्या क्या चीज आपने, वैल्यूज एथिक्स तो एक पार्ट है, ठीक है, दैट इज योर कल्चर पार्ट। देन मोर देन एनीथिंग इज योर सोशल, जो उसको क्या बोलते हैं, नेटवर्क जो है ना, within the company, the culture within the company, that is very conducive, ठीक है। And what was the core thing which is running the entire company? Companies were left out autonomous with least interference, and also letting the entrepreneurial zeal to drive the company, right? And they were taking right decisions at right time. Tomco को भेज दिया because they felt that they are not into that business, that is not doing well. So वो एक चीज है। Then the common cord, जो TAS is again, you can say very unique to Tata. That is your rare resource. और कोई कंपनी में है TAS का इक्विवेलेंट कोई है ही नहीं, you know. सो ये जो है ना, टाटा को सर्टेन एक्सेस टू रिसोर्सेस है। आर दे रेयर नहीं है, दे आर वैल्यूबल, क्योंकि सेल को भी माइंस है, जिंदल का भी माइंस है। सो यू कैनॉट से दैट इज अ रेयर। व्हाट इज रेयर इज द रेयर अमाउंट ऑफ इंटीग्रेशन, द इंटीग्रेशन व्हिच इज अचीव्ड बाय योर कंपनी, टाटा कंपनी, द सिनर्जीज दे डेवलप्ड, द काइंड ऑफ क्रॉस कंपनी का जो ये था, there is certain common thread which is running across the entire company, and identifying the right kind of people, nurturing talent, nurture, and also succession plan जो है ना। See, despite Ratan Tata identified to be very shy, very reserved kind of a person, still J.R.D. Tata has identified him as a valuable successor compared to Rusi Modi, right? Don't you think that is the way it is being institutionalized is correct? And again, vision of your leader, J.R.D. Tata serving for so many years, 50, 60 years, he was the connecting cord. He has ensured so many of the businesses to thrive and come across. Yeah, you are saying?
See, the what I want to say here that all the values which you just described, you that is correct. This is the entire everything is considered under the value. But for us, or for anyone outsider, or how all those value created or come out from Tata because only because of Ratan. Ratan has started all the things. Ratan has implemented everything, tax, all the requirement,
No, no, no,
the
no. Ratan ka nahi hai. TAS is not Ratan.
no, no,
TAS
not tax.
was
Sorry,
TAS is
other than
existed
tax.
since
My
long.
mistake. Other than tax, everything is done by Ratan. He has created the expansion mode of the Tata. He has started that and take some strategic decision to sell few sunset companies and increase the fund investment in the company and diversify with more other sectors. So for us, it is not already there. It was created by Ratan Tata.
Nahi. Did Ratan Tata created all the entire Tata? I don't think
No,
so.
no, no,
No,
no,
it
no.
was there. But
I
the
don't think.
expansion, the name of Tata brand increased after Ratan Tata's come in the picture, and he has to make it a worldwide famous.
Nahi, is it costly to imitate?
Yes,
How?
yes. No one have a capacity to come out with such a big empire in India
Nobody. Nahi.
at that point of time. We are talking
Even
about not from
by then Adani was already see
No,
Ambani
no,
was
no, no,
already
no.
into it.
No, 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 not that big,
Birla
not that
Birla
big,
was
not that
there.
big, not
Birla
that
was
big.
there. No, no, no.
No,
Birla was also there.
but
Birla
Birla
Tatas were
was
competing. Right. It's not
when
that they are losing.
When Ratan started, Birla was not that big.
No, no, यार don't say all that. आप जो है ना पुराना I used to read मनोरमा yearbook from 88 okay. So वो सब देखेंगे टाटा बिरला का बीच में बहुत ज्यादा फर्क नहीं था. Okay.
Agree.
हाँ, they were
But
also
उसको
into diversified businesses.
copy करना is was more costly for us, and that's why it is
No,
there.
see, the
Immediate.
biggest mistake what Birla did, what Tata didn't do is Tata has put trust. ठीक है, ट्रस्ट यूज टू रन. वो सक्सेशन प्लानिंग इतना जबरदस्त था, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट नहीं था. The Birla where they failed is their succession planning was very topsy turvy था. Conflict among so many claimants, the so called वो जो main घनश्याम बिरला है ना,
Yes,
perform
among family members.
हाँ, उनका फैमिली मेंबर्स के बीच में इतना सारा डिस्प्यूट्स है. एंड दे फेल टू एक्सेप्ट आदित्य बिरला ग्रुप. बाकी सब बिरला ग्रुप्स दे बिकेम रिच ब्रैड का स्पॉइल्ड चाइल्ड्स. अदरवाइज मे बी दे वुड हैव आल्सो competed very well. देन एट द टाइम कौन कौन सा था, मोडीज है, छबरियास है. हाय पंकज, ऑलमोस्ट फैगेंट पे आया बॉस. We have finished. Unmute, unmute. Unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool.
नहीं,
You
अभी
guys are finished?
yeah, we have discussed a lot about restructuring of conglomerates in emerging markets. उसके बारे में बहुत कुछ what professor didn't cover. अभी रैगिंग चल रहा है ग्रुप 7 का.
Yes, professor was covering.
But frankly speaking, I still consider that was costly affair for anyone to match Tata.
नहीं, costly. I agree it is costly because it takes minimum at least 10 years for a small company to.
Exactly. Then it is
ठीक
not
है.
imitable. Because after 10 years, Tata become more successful than who is coming behind him.
नहीं, इमिटेबल नॉट इमिटेबल वो डिफिकल्टी है ही नहीं. क्योंकि आजकल के जमाने में कोई भी किसी को
We are
imitate
not
कर
talking about current era. We are talking about that era when
even
this
that
was
era
used.
also, it's not difficult. Okay, only thing is, yes, it takes time, right? Next thing, exploited by organization. No करके दिया.
You have not finished yet, Suresh.
No.
I thought you have already finished.
No, I didn't. Actually, exploited by the organization, they have exploited it. Okay, not that they didn't, but there was a friction. Agreed, there was a friction. Pankaj, you want to say something?
Yeah, I had a quick question. अपने like more of a clarification. 4 सेशंस थे, उसमें से सिर्फ 3 पे पेपर है, right? एग्जाम में के लिए वो जो
Yes.
book and
Yes,
quota
yes.
and all that is not included,
No,
right?
not there, not there.
Saha is not there, but consider one thing that ki in Saptarshi's case, fourth session, he has covered all the sessions which Kaushik has taught. So anyway, it is 7 sessions.
7 sessions, 3 plus
Yeah.
4. You be
नहीं, मैं तो
prepared
आज
for
से
all.
शुरू करूंगा. मैंने थोड़ा 2 घंटे निकाल के रखे हैं कि आज से शुरू करूंगा देखने की क्या करवाया उसने.
नहीं, आप what you do is, see, Saptarishi का you just listen to all 3 lectures, okay? उसमें से first वाले में he spend a lot of time on that जो
कौशिक का part, right?
नहीं, कौशिक का part से भी ज्यादा वो जो एक concept था ना, वो जो
WTP और SOC वाला.
हाँ, SOC WTP जो है ना, उसी में ही maximum time उसने he used it. Okay, he was recapitulating what was completed by Kaushik. Kaushik, what I suggest you is, in fact, you go through the material, extra material जो दिया था ना, study material given by Kaushik. If you have time, वो you go through it. That is where you get more. And again, एक और चीज, एक ने किसी ने भेजा 120 pages का PPTs है. They are all of सप्तऋषि last session में, मतलब batch 1 में जो cover किया था, उसमें वो देख लो. वैसे ही he made it as if हमको कुछ भी पता नहीं हम लोग को, and we don't get access to his PPTs करके सोचा था. Anyway, हमारा लोग तो
कॉपीराइट है
उसका कॉपीराइट है, वो अभी सबके पास है. वो एक बार देख लो, उसका बेसिस पे see if you have, क्योंकि many a things he was explaining it, so explanation में क्या है, वो जितना भी एक्सप्लेन किया, वो जो कौशिक ने मटेरियल दिया उसमें से ही है.
अच्छा,
nothing more, nothing less.
कौन सा वाला है सुरेश भाई? कौन सा कौशिक वाला, कौन सा मटेरियल है साइट पे देखना?
नहीं, you go to that ये webinars वाला जहाँ पे है ना, you open the webinars, you open all the webinars, download all the material, especially PDFs he has given. So you go through one by one, see what is strategy is there, then what are firm resources and sustained competitive advantage, then your value chain and competitive advantage. All these things. नहीं, मैंने तो कवर भी कर लिया है ना. You do one thing, if you have time, we have already put into our group, all the videos. I covered everything, but ठीक है, ऐसा होता है many a times, whatever is covered in video will not be 100% whatever is written, right? In naturally the script जो booklet जो दिया था, that will contain more information.
अच्छा,
You got it? So
Pankaj, just check my camera. Just check my camera. 1 second. 1 second.
उससे अच्छा ये देखो, इस टाइप का जो मटेरियल दिया है
अच्छा,
ना,
हाँ,
राइट,
4
मेरा
PDF लगे हुए हैं वेबिनार्स के अंदर. ओके,
हाँ,
ये
फर्म
देखिए,
रिसोर्सेज एंड सस्टेन्ड कंपेटिटिव एडवांटेज, और एक वाटर स्ट्रेटजी, और ये पोर्टर
ये जो 4 पढ़ा है ना, this 4 is most important.
See,
कौन सा वाला संदेश?
These four.
अच्छा अच्छा
I'll tell you.
देखना पड़ेगा क्या?
One by one, I'll tell you. See, if you want to have understanding, कौशिक ने एक बिजनेस साइकिल्स ये सब जो है ना एंड चेंज मैनेजमेंट करके एक दिया था. That is fundamental to understand what the businesses are, how they are run, right? What are the business cycles? See, because everything is linked to your business cycle, your strategies, industry structure, everything is dependent on it. So you have to go logically. Then you have to go to Porter's 5 forces,
अच्छा
right? Porter's 5 forces will make you to understand. उससे भी पहले Porter's 5 forces से पहले what is strategy पढ़ो.
अच्छा ठीक है.
What is strategy? Then Porter's 5 forces. उसके बाद then comes his और क्या है boss?
Sustained advantage कुछ बता रहा. Firm resources and sustained competitive advantage.
No, external analysis हम लोगों ने कुछ और किया था.
एक पेपर का नाम है पोर्टर जेनेरिक स्ट्रेटजी इन ब्रीफ और फिर एक वैल्यू चेन का पीडीएफ है कोई.
Value chain is very important.
Important, okay. और फिर और एक है अनबंडलिंग द कॉर्पोरेशन.
अनबंडलिंग ऑफ कॉर्पोरेशंस, वो भी बहुत सिंपल कॉन्सेप्ट है. यू कैन गो थ्रू दैट वन डायग्राम दिया था, वो डायग्राम और पहले वाला 2 पेजेस पढ़ लेना.
बहुत डिटेलिंग है, बहुत डिटेलिंग है. ये वो 4-5 जो पहले दिखा है ना, वो अगर करेंगे ना तो वो भी कवर हो जाएगा पोर्टर्स के साथ.
ओके चलो मैं
उसमें क्या
बहुत सारे पेजेस हो गए सुरेश भाई.
नहीं
ये ना बुरा है. Just consider first five only.
See, every what I suggest is 2 hours में 20 पेजेस तो आराम से पढ़ सकते हो.
चलो
ठीक है. Each paper you spend somewhere around 2 hours. लेकिन क्या होता है ना, see, I'll tell you, many a times हमारा एक fatigue होता है. We get to have the so called fatigue, right? वो fatigue की वजह से हम लोगों का फोकस नहीं होता है उस एरिया पे. When we again
थैंक यू दादा.
Bye, good night. Suresh,
बात
please
क्या
now.
होता है? Yeah.
I also shut down.
Okay, चलो मैं
Bye.
और पंकज भाई थोड़ा सा 1-to-1 कर लेते हैं.
हाँ ठीक है. थैंक यू.
Right? Okay. Ravi, you are still there?
Suresh bhai, I am also trying to hear what Pankaj is asking because I have to also study जो आप बताएंगे.
Right.
Start नहीं किया है.
See, I'll tell you.
जो इसने ब्लू ओशन जो स्ट्रेटेजी दिया है वो पढ़ने का है क्या अभी?
बाप रे ब्लू ओशन.
यार वो
जरूरत
किताब
नहीं.
250 पेज का है यार. वो मैं सोचा एक दिन में प्रिंट निकाल के ऑफिस में कर रहा हूँ नहीं हो रहा अभी. मैं
जरूरत है ही नहीं. See, ये जो ब्लू ओशन स्ट्रेटजी इज नथिंग बट हम लोगों ने प्लेटफॉर्म्स और वो जो पाइपलाइन वाला बिजनेस में जो कवर किया था मोर और लेस वही था. एंड ऑल्सो एवरी स्ट्रेटजी टॉक्स अबाउट द सेम थिंग. वो क्या बोलता है ब्लू ओशन स्ट्रेटजीज में क्या है? See, red oceans are those industries in which there is a cutthroat competition and there is nothing much left out and it will be very difficult to sustain. So such kind of a companies, they have to go into certain niche areas or which are untapped, or they are into totally new technology or new business models. उसमें आप ये कर लो, you get the first जो mover advantage ले लो, then you try to capture the market and better profitability. This is what is all blue ocean strategy. Nothing more than that. Okay, उसी के लिए बहुत सारे केस स्टडीज दिया. ये फलाना ये जो फोर्ड वाला जो है ना, फोर्ड ही स्टार्टेड दैट असेंबली लाइन राइट जस्ट इन टाइम वाला कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ जापान, दैट इनोवा वाला, वो जो इनोवा नहीं, वो जो टोयोटा. So then Apple coming into that platform businesses, Microsoft, all those, they gave so many plenty of case studies. See, based on थोड़ा सा मैंने वो बुक पढ़ा नहीं है, but based on that, एक PPT भेजा था ना इसने,
मैं तो इग्नोर कर रहा हूँ सुरेश भाई या
वो मत पढ़ो यार, वो उसमें कुछ नहीं है।
तो मेरे को तो लग रहा है कि जितना मतलब मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम जो अपना सप्तऋषि ने कवर किया था वो तो आधे से ज्यादा तो जो पहले अपने को कौशिक ने पढ़ाया था वही नॉर्मली
Absolutely.
वही कवर हुआ है। उसका
Absolutely.
70% टाइम पे और 30% टाइम पे बकवास हुआ है। तो अगर अपन शायद कौशिक वाला भी ठीक से कर लेंगे तो भी अपन आंसर दे पाएंगे इसको। आई डोंट थिंक
See, what they do is, strategy में क्या होता है, everything seems to be a right option. आपका अगर clarity of thought है, clarity of concept है, then only you can understand. अच्छा, पंकज भाई, how many days, how many hours you have? Not days, you tell me hours.
आवर्स अगर बोले तो लाइक इट्स अ वर्किंग डे फॉर मी, पर मैंने आज 2 घंटे निकाल के रखे हैं और थर्सडे को मैंने 2 घंटे ब्लॉक करके रखा हुआ है कि भैया 4 घंटे तो पक्के ही हैं, और सैटरडे को है, सैटरडे को आराम से 2-3 घंटे और है, तो प्रॉब्ली 7 hours इजी।
7 hours में यार it's very difficult.
ना मॉडल 1 में अच्छा स्कोर किया रहेगा तो एवरेज आउट
See, I'll tell you how much time I spent. Okay, Kaushik wala isme all the papers he has given 2 into at least 14 to 15 hours उसी में ही spent किया।
बाप रे।
ठीक है, then कल रात भी 4 घंटे जस्ट वीडियोस, वो 4 नहीं, कितना, almost 4 hours I went through the videos of सप्तऋषि।
अच्छा,
सप्तऋषि का वीडियोस दो वीडियोस देखा। 2 वीडियो देखने के बाद आज जो है राइट वे टू रिस्ट्रक्चर कॉन्ग्लोमरेट्स जो है ना, ये 2 घंटे पढ़ा है, राइट। I read it at least 2 or 3 times, this one, okay, then only you tend to, because many a times when we initially read हमारा mental fatigue होगा, focus नहीं होगा, या concentration lapses होंगे, then we may be thinking something else while reading, right? So इस चक्कर में क्या होता है, effective reading नहीं होता है, and second time जब पढ़ रहे हो आपका thoughts totally different हो जाता है, and understanding will become totally different. See, what is more important is the quality of reading, not about the number of hours. Okay,
that is encouraging, Suresh bhai. Yeah, encouraging words है आपसे।
मैं क्या बोलता हूँ, since you have very less time left, can you ये 2x speed में can you go through? Can you understand?
Like 1.5 में
1.5 में भी पूरा समझ जाता है वो, उसमें कुछ है नहीं।
मैं तो 2x स्पीड में सुनते थे।
अच्छा,
2x में whenever I feel I need to वहां पे थोड़ा रिपीट करता हूँ, you know, so that it actually goes. See, what is more important is identification of what is more important, what he is saying, out of what he said. हो सकता है उसमें 2 घंटे का लेक्चर में 3 घंटे में 1 घंटा वैसे ही बकवास होगा,
और किसी को झाड़ रहा होगा,
ठीक है,
किसी ने किसी को पकड़ के लतेड़ रहा होगा,
और बहुत सारे लोग ऐसा क्वेश्चंस होंगे which may not be important,
irrelevant।
और दूसरा वो जो
बहुत तो उसने इतना ध्यान से दिया है ना वैसा आंसर्स को पूछो मत।
SIC WIP जो कॉन्सेप्ट था, दैट इज हार्डली 5 मिनट्स, उससे भी ज्यादा नहीं है, उसको खींच के 1 घंटे से ज्यादा वेस्ट किया।
WTP ना, WIP नहीं, WTP वाला, विलिंगनेस टू पे।
WTP, ओके,
WIP और कुछ नहीं था ना भाई, मैं
ठीक है, WTP विलिंगनेस टू पे, ठीक है। ये जो है व्हाट इज देयर इन द, उसमें कुछ है ही नहीं, वो एक दिखा दिया। इफ यू सी दैट पर्टिकुलर डायग्राम, थोड़ा बहुत तो समझ में आ ही जाता है, राइट। ओनली थिंग
शुरू करता हूं मैं।
हाँ, वो जो है ना, सी यू अंडरस्टैंड द डेफिनेशंस वेरी प्रॉपर्ली। व्हाट इज कोर एंड की इन दिस इज, सप्तऋषि का स्लाइड्स 120 स्लाइड्स जो भेजा था ना, दैट इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग। आपको बहुत ज्यादा कुछ करने का जरूरत नहीं है। व्हाट यू डू इज ओपन दैट, उसका रिलेटेड आप गूगल में सर्च करो।
अच्छा,
ठीक है, एटलीस्ट योर बेसिक्स विल बी मोर क्लियर। ये पढ़ने का टाइम नहीं है, आई एम टेलिंग यू, ये पढ़ेगा तो कुछ होने वाला नहीं है। राइट, क्योंकि इसके लिए आपको मिनिमम 20 आवर्स का जरूरत है, उतना तो है नहीं, यू कांट, तो लीव इट। तो अभी क्या सजेस्ट करेंगे, मैंने जहां जहां पे इम्पोर्टेंट चीजें था, जहां जहां पे मुझे लगा कि वो आएगा क्वेश्चन वो एग्जाम में, मैंने क्या है ग्रुप में डाल दिया,
ओके
फॉर एवरीबडी टू सी इट, एंड कुछ कुछ वो पूछेगा स्ट्रैटेजी, वो व्हाट इज द फिट इन दैट स्ट्रैटेजी, ठीक है, कहाँ कहाँ पे मिस्टेक्स करते हैं, ये सब 3-4 पॉइंट्स है, वो एक बार देख लेना, बिकॉज ही वाज
समरी
सेइंग
वाला
इट,
जो आपका जो समरी है,
summary.
ओके
And then you need to understand what is the strategy as what he explained, not what Kaushik said or Saptarshi said. जो विश्वतोष, वो अगर लिखेंगे ना हम गया काम से, so you need to understand, okay? One,
मेरे को एक चीज समझ आया, स्ट्रेटजी इज इंटीग्रेटेड चॉइसेस,
बस
Set of integrated choices.
वही है,
कुछ भी बोलो चॉइसेस होना चाहिए,
चॉइसेस ही है, चॉइसेस, ठीक है। तो वो चीज देख लेना, उसमें क्या है, 3 चीज ऐड कर दिया, व्हाट डू यू इंटीग्रेट विद, वन इज योर विजन, मिशन एंड वैल्यूज, ये तीनों को जो इंटीग्रेट करके जो चॉइसेस लेते हो वही चीज है, राइट। ही वाज आस्किंग, देन आपका वो एक कर लो, करने के बाद जहां जहां पे भी डाउट्स है, ये स्टडी मटेरियल में यू कैन सी द ब्रॉडर हेडलाइंस, ओके, ब्रॉड हेडलाइंस देख के अगर कोई चीज रिलेटेड टू दैट व्हाट ही वाज डिस्कसिंग अगर है, तो वो थोड़ा सा पढ़ लेना, सो दैट एटलीस्ट यू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट रिसोर्सेज के बारे में, यू बी वेरी क्लियर, सी VRIO इंटरनेशनलाइजेशन, then he will ask about Porter's 5 forces, right, उसके बाद sustained competitive advantage, ठीक है, how these VRIO मॉडल में क्या चीज आपको sustained competitive advantage देगा, एक स्लाइड है, वो एक बार अच्छा सा पढ़ लेना, he will make you confused in that only, ठीक है, ठीक है, वो कुछ ऐसा है, see if you go through his slides you get everything.
ओके चलो मैं शुरू करता हूँ आज, 2 घंटे लगाता हूँ।
हाँ, बाकी मैं क्या बोलता हूँ, यू लिसन टू दोस 3 लेक्चर्स, 2x में सुन लो, 6 घंटे में हो जाएगा, राइट, एंड इफ पॉसिबल यू मेक ए लिटिल नोट्स, यू नो, ठीक है, अदरवाइज पीपीटी तो है ही, पीपीटी में मोर और लेस सही।
नहीं आपने वो पीपीटी भेजा तो मैंने डाउनलोड किया है,
डाउनलोड एक और बंदे ने भेजा है, यू रिमेम्बर, आई विल टेल यू किसने भेजा है, हाँ गौरव या किसी ने भेजा है, व्हाट ही डिड इज, वो उन्होंने जो मटेरियल ऑलरेडी था, उसी मटेरियल को
और भी कंडेंस कर दिया क्या,
कंडेंस नहीं किया, एक मिनट,
ये जो इसमें से कॉपीराइट वाला था, इसको ये एनलार्ज करके दिया है क्या 7 स्लाइड को, ये जो उसमें अपलोड किया अपना,
हाँ उसी जो मैंने 808 पेजेस जो दिया था ना, उसी में ही इनका रिलेवेंट जो सप्तऋषि वाला गौरव सोलंकी ने भेजा है, ओके, गौरव सोलंकी
कुछ 100 स्लाइड्स है, राइट, सुरेश भाई उसमें 100 प्लस है, राइट,
120, आई विल जस्ट सेंड इट टू यू, ओके,
ठीक है,
अभी देख लो, आ गया होगा,
बस सुरेश भाई इस बार पास करा दो, बाकी देख लेंगे हम लोग।
ये सब पास हो जाएगा यार, चिंता मत करो, ये आपको, क्योंकि यू डोंट हैव मच ऑफ टाइम, यू गो थ्रू हिज स्लाइड्स, उसी का ही इंटरनेट में देख लो, यू विल अंडरस्टैंड, ओके, अगर टाइम मिले तो तब भी बाकी सब कर लेना, नहीं तो व्हाट आई सजेस्ट इज फर्स्ट यू लिसन टू हिज लेक्चर, यू विल कम टू नो व्हाट इज, सी वो
किसके बारे में बात कर रहा है,
एक चीज उसने हमेशा बोला है, you listen to my lecture you can pass, you understood, so वो पूरा ध्यान से सुन लेना, it's not that active listening होना चाहिए, not passive, actively listen to it,
पास करता है लेक्चर में तो वो
नहीं
you can't stop him, right, Ravi?
पहले वाला जो है, पहले 10 मिनट फर्स्ट सेशन का, पहले 10 मिनट मुझे खूब सारा गाली दिया था, ठीक है। वो
आपके
छोड़ दो,
आपको
बीच में भी
डेडिकेटेड
तो
था
वही
वो।
कर रहा था।
वो छोड़ दो। you avoid that. After 10 minutes he started discussing what is strategy, सबको पूछ के, that you can skip it because everybody is saying their own अपना अपना चीज बोल रहा था. You can go to the place where he started saying what is the strategy. ठीक है, वहां से स्टार्ट करो. एंड WIP जो है ना, बहुत सारे लोग बहुत कुछ पूछ रहा था. समटाइम्स आई फेल्ट इट टू बी वेरी सिली आल्सो. उसमें इतना स्पेंड करने का दम नहीं है. बट आई एम टेलिंग यू देयर मे बी क्वेश्चंस
On
रिलेटेड टू
WP, हाँ।
WIP में वैल्यू क्रिएशन. ठीक है, वो बोल रहा है ना वैल्यू एडिशन किसने ज्यादा किया है.
हाँ।
ठीक है. He will also ask whether the firm has created value. नेगेटिव वैल्यू भी हो सकता है. That is what
correct.
he was saying, you know. So वो उस he will surround it by that. Okay, वहां से 2-3 क्वेश्चंस एक्सपेक्ट करो.
ठीक है.
ठीक है. तो ये जो पोटर्स 5 फोर्सेस, you need to understand what those forces are. उसी को ही ट्विस्ट करेगा, गोल घुमाएगा. ठीक है, यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कहाँ पे घुमा रहा है एंड बी वेरी क्लियर, राइट. तो वो एक हो गया. देन व्हाट एल्स इज देयर इन दैट. एक मिनट मैं एक एक करके रन कर लेता
यार
हूँ.
अपन ये MCQ कुछ बनाएंगे क्या इसके लिए? क्या बैच 1 का MCQ है अपने पास में?
कुछ भी नहीं. वो MCQ करो, कुछ नहीं मिलने वाला, घंटा मिलने वाला तुमको. ठीक है, वो बेकार सा एक्सरसाइज है.
अरे उसके लिए नहीं बोल रहा हूँ मैं, उसके लिए बोल रहा हूँ कि एटलीस्ट अपना भी तो नॉलेज एक बार थोड़ा क्लैरिटी समझ में आएगा.
कुछ नहीं आएगा यार, तुम्हारा वेस्टेज ऑफ टाइम है. मैंने 4 घंटा बर्बाद किया साला वो एक सॉफ्टवेयर डाउनलोड करने के लिए, उसमें क्या क्या लिखने के लिए. फाइनली आई डिसाइडेड बेटर है अपना पढ़ लो, उसके बाद बस अंडरस्टैंड इट.
सुरेश भाई, I have to drop. मेरी अभी नेक्स्ट मीटिंग है 10:15 को, so I have to drop. But so आपका बेसिकली अगर जिस्ट ये है कि समरी वीडियो सुनो, उसके बाद अगर टाइम मिले तो गो टू उसके जो PDFs दिए थे उसने. पर पहले सेशंस का वीडियो, देन स्लाइड, एंड देन लास्ट में रीडिंग मटेरियल.
नहीं, स्लाइड अपना हाथ में रख लो, सेशन जब होता रहता है. Okay. If you can take a print, you can make a notes also.
Yeah, मैं वही करूँगा. I think that's where I'll start.
ठीक है, चलो, all the best.
Thank you Suresh bhai. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye Ravi. Bye bye
Bye Suresh. Bye. Good night.
Bye bye.
Praveen, bye. Bye. Praveen, bye.
Bye Ravi.